Okay, I got a couple of messages this morning about writing a personalized curriculum for your child. So I said I would share how I do it, and then let's see how we go from there. So what I tend to look at is my child's current abilities. And then move on to what I would like them to be able to achieve midterm. But I don't mean midterm as in like halfway through a school term. I mean it's sort of a check-in point. So we have periodic check-in points. But it's not to say that I'm not checking in all the way through. And then we put end of academic year. As we know, our children are forever changing, which keeps me on my toes, and I'm sort of quite happy about it that my children don't stay stagnant. So when we say current abilities, I also then put current interests. I'm basing this on my son, who is 8 years old. His lifelong passion has been mechanics. Recently, we have an interest in football. And then memorizing Quran. I had no real intention of pushing him through hifz, but he asks for that. So his current abilities is he has a reading age of 11. Oh, Mubarak. Maths skill base. So he's quite proficient in fractions, so he can do them. He's okay with a fourth. He's okay with half. He's okay with 3/4 and the concept of whole. He's okay with a fifth. He's okay with 2/5, 3/5. I know by checking point, I would like him to know that 4/5 is okay for him, struggles with that a bit, and then the idea of equivalent fractions. Then at the end of the academic year, I'd like to project that for us to be looking at decimals. So it would be fraction 2 decimals interchange. So that's our basis for that part of maths for academic year. He will continue, and if I change the color, he will continue to work through extra maths, which is an online program for faster recall. So this is, I'm going to base this page on his maths skills currently. We're going to do this, a lot of this through football scores. Change that slightly. So we're talking about possession of the ball, and then how much of that is converted into goals. I'm also a football fan, so I can do that with him. Then also we will do percentage increase and decrease. He's okay with increase. By midterm, I'd like to look at decrease. By the end of this, I would like him to be able to do increase and decrease using the formula. So I'd introduce increase and decrease, also known as decay, percentage increase and decay formula. So that would take me, pushing him into key stage 3. When we do our midterm check-in point through extra maths, I'd like him to be 3/4 of the way through the program. He is okay with his 2s, 3s, 5s, 7, 9, 10, 11 times tables, and most of that we did through games. So I would like midterm check-in point. We need to add his 4s, 6s, 8s, 12 times tables, and that would mean for the end of the year with him, I would be looking at square numbers as the beginning of his term. So that would be his maths sort of idea. Then I would have a little box or a frame up here. Just draw you one. Usually mine are quite messy because they are a depiction of, I don't know, maybe my brain. And in these boxes, I'd put resources. Current and resources to purchase. Or make. So this video will focus on maths mainly, and then I'll do one for English and one for science, and then a collective one later. It's just all about time. It's Ramadan. I've got so many other things I need to do today. And it's currently 10 to 8 in the morning, so I'm running behind my normal schedule to fit this in. So currently what he is currently using is Maze Hop. We play a lot of Monopoly just to help with his maths addition recall. We have our, obviously I mentioned before, extra maths. He can use, but doesn't seem to like it very much, unless he's bored, the Math Seeds online program. He also has a Collins textbook, Key Stage 3 maths book, and then we have various homemade resources. I know that for 4/5 and everything in that category, so I may as well add a third, 2/3 here, and then all of his everything with the denominator of 6. So we'll put everything. because he likes to tell me halfway through the academic year that he's finished all of his work, and usually he's actually telling the truth, which means I have to go back to the drawing board all over again to work through his curriculum. We have his fraction pies, which I made years ago for his older sister. They are sort of like, they look like pizzas, and they're sectioned off into whatever fractions you need, but they are all interchangeable. So you have pieces that are, say, for instance, 2/3, but then you also have on it the equivalent fraction of 4/6, for instance, and he's able to swap them out and interchange them. So I say to him, make me a pizza, and I tell him what I need it made out of, sort of like ingredients, but not like ingredients. And that's the thing, he does do a lot of cooking and baking, but I'd like him to be able to multiply recipes. And I have something called meal charts. So we write a recipe out onto a meal chart, and he will multiply them. Obviously, then at the moment, he'll multiply them by 2 or multiply them by 4 to practice that idea. But then he has to cook the meal. So that's quite useful also. Resources that I have to make. I have to make new fraction pies. Because I need some extra pieces. There are some pieces missing. I don't know where they've disappeared to. And then I would need to then make those fraction pies, but the reason why I'm making them is to include decimals. If you don't want to make these, there is the option of buying them, and you can buy them from YPO. So if I get really busy during the year, YPO purchase, because they have them. I just enjoy making resources, so usually I make them. And then he also needs a fraction ruler. He has one currently that has percentages and fractions on, but I need one to include decimals. He was really good at, alhamdulillah, being able to change them into percentages, but decimals sort of stumped him for a bit, so we pulled back on that to go back to it again. What else would he be doing on this? I don't think there's much else needed for him. But I've also got to make you aware that our academic year is technically shorter than everybody else's. So we start at around August time. Rather than September, we start in August. My mid-year check is usually around November time or mid-term. It's not really mid, because September, October, November is about 3 months. January, February, March, April, we have our end of our academic year. That doesn't mean he's not doing any work after that point. It means that he has to come up with 4 passion projects in that subject. So we have to look at passion projects here. But he is involved in all of this as we go. So his passion project is robotics, because he is a child that likes to kill several birds with one stone. So he looks at his robotics is going to include maths and engineering. It's going to include English because he needs to write the instructions to go with that. We're going to look at marketing. And because he is 8, usually in our house, they start their own small side hustle or some business of their own at this point. So usually he has to look at profit and loss. And that will be his academic year. After his robotics, very weird. I'm going to teach him how to sew because he wants to do some sewing of some description, so that he has something he can teach his words, his female children, just in case. He's married to a woman who cannot sew. And then he wants to do shopping list takeover. This is something we do with guidance, obviously. Shopping list takeover means that I can essentially sit in the car and send him into a supermarket with a list, but he will go with his older sister. And they will do the monthly shopping. Our shopping is quite different to other people's, so we do several different places, and they're mainly wholesalers, but the wholesalers know my children by name. I hope that helps in some regard for maths. I will try and get English and science out as quickly as I possibly can, and then I will show you how things work together for us. This is Dr. H. Sarles signing out.